know. Is that mic on?
It is on.
You hear? You seeing it?
Yep.
All right. Everybody, let me know how well you hear me and Kevin, because I don't even see lights flashing on that thing. So.
It is. I think we can move it a little bit closer here.
Yeah, I think you can. Normally I see lights and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, now I see the lights.
There it is. There it is.
All right. That looks better. All right. So I'm assuming everybody can hear me. Everybody can see me. Everybody can see Kevin. We're back together after weeks of not being back together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we had all those technical issues last time, which was a nightmare. But we got to it. And we were able to get the encryption working, encryption, decryption working on the messaging side. The problem now is, let me switch over to the project. So the problem now is this. I'm going to delete this and we'll sort of do it. But at the database messaging level, right, I'm now writing the encrypted data there. But now if I load the system up, it doesn't know how to de-encrypt it on startup. It also doesn't know if that data is encrypted or not.
Got it. Okay.
Right? Because we may not have an encrypted session with somebody. So we need to think about this. One thing we could do is switch our messages to a JSON document. Then I don't care about the carriage return, right? I was trying to cheat before by just doing every line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would still kind of want to do that, but we have a JSON document on every line. All right, because then that lets us sort of read the JSON document one. So here's sort of a hack, right? So in JSON, you have to read the entire document in order to process it.
Okay.
So let's say there were going to be 1,000 messages in here. If you put all of that in one doc, you got to read the whole thing before you can decode it.
It's going to take a while.
So one hack in streaming JSON is to have these smaller JSON documents that get terminated by a carriage return line feed.
Got it.
Because then you can read one line at a time, each one being a JSON document, and then you could stream a bunch of JSON data, let's say across the wire or anything.
So instead of one block, it's a bunch of smaller blocks.
It's a bunch of smaller JSON documents, but they don't break at a line level. They all stay on that one line. So then we can write, like we already have a parser that reads one line at a time. And we'll know that this is how the logs work, right? If you look at the logs, they're JSON documents, but they break at a carriage return line feed, a single one. That way you can read and parse them and stream them and do all the other things that you sort of gotta have to do with them. So I want to do the same thing because I think now what we'll need is a JSON doc that has the name, it has whether it's encrypted or not, and then the data.
The data, which would be all the messages.
What you're seeing right now. Yeah. No, that's one message.
Or just
one message. So one doc per one message at a doc level, but we need to know if we have to de-encrypt that or not with the public key that we have, right?
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so that means we're going to go back into the storage. Now, Kevin, you asked me a question earlier today about why we don't have a business layer in this project. So a couple things here. If we were doing a CRUD-based app, right? Create, read, update, delete, that kind of stuff. It's really clear about what is your app layer, what is your business layer, what is the business logic. It's really clear that we may want different app layers, different CLI tool app layer, this app layer. And so we want the app layer to stay thin, some data validation calling the business layer. That's sort of obvious stuff here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we started building this, we started with this chat package with the idea that from a server perspective, really, all that the server side I kind of did was route messages between other sort of caps, right?
Yes.
There isn't really a lot of business logic there as much as there's sort of routing logic.
Yeah.
So I think what happened here is from a server perspective, right?
Yep.
We started writing this chat package and we started handling a connection that came off of a socket connection, right? So we've got that at this single route connect. Then we had a handshake, and then we basically had to block this request and listen for data coming in and sort of route things. Now, we started building that in this chat package. We moved it in the SDK layer to the app side because really that's what we sort of needed.
Yes.
And then if we really look at the API here for our chat package, this is our backend chat package, right? It basically creates and connects the stream to nats. It implements the sort of handshake. We could call that business logic for sure. It then blocks listening for a message coming in, detects signatures, right? And that's, it listens for a message coming in. So none of this is really sort of CRUD related, right? This is all about a socket connection, a message coming in, validating a signature, and then deciding how we can route that back down the pipe, either locally or out there on sort of nats. And we developed this sort of chat package, which had along with it this user package, which keeps in memory, essentially on the server side, sort of a map of all of the socket connections that are connected to us.
Got it.
So
Okay.
you could argue on one side of this that this code is really app layer code because it's working at a protocol level. It's not that your business layer couldn't accept protocol layer stuff. It could, but it always feels a little dirty to me. I'm on a project right now with Prediction Guard where we essentially have an audio service we wrote, okay?
Yeah.
And it gets streamed a very large document, but it's got to go through our API service first. So what do I do there? I don't try to parse the request at the API layer. I just want the API layer to do a pass-through. This could be a 1 meg document.
Yeah.
So if you think about that project for a second, at the app layer, essentially when the request comes in, we just sort of blindly send it right out the door. So there's no business layer there because it's app to the other service. And then essentially when the response comes back, we do unmarshal it at the app layer and then send it back just to control that. But since the input is a one-to-one, from API to service, there's no reason to spend time on marshaling it, reading a 1 meg file in just to stream it again.
Makes sense.
But on the response, just to control what's going out, we do that. Now, something just happened to us last week. We decided to apply extensions to the response that comes back from. So the audio service does a translation. Given this audio, translate it to English, Spanish, German, whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So now we decided we want to apply extensions to it, like check for PII, personal information, check for toxicity, check for these things. Now, that's not a big deal, right? Because we get back the translated response. Now we can run it through one of these extensions. But these extensions are business logic, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay. So now what happens is this isn't just app layer anymore. Now on the way back, we got to run it through some business logic. So what did I do? I decided now to create a business layer for this, say, audio domain, where now the business layer does the pass through, but now when the response comes back, we can run it against the extensions. But here's a case where if you're going to do pass through in the business layer, it needs the protocol stuff. It needs access to the client to connect, and it needs the original request, and it needs all these things. So here's a case where I've got some protocol stuff in a business layer.
Got it. Okay.
Feels a little dirty to me, but we don't have much of a choice because we really need to do a pass through on the input, just because there's no reason for us to process an entire make file just to stream it again.
Makes sense.
Right? We need to, it's because of the return. So there are exceptions to every rule is what I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah.
We just have to understand when we're taking it. Now, we could make an argument that this entire package that we have under SDK, right? This could become, and I thought about this earlier at some point, this could right? This package here could have been a chat business package. It could have been a chat business package. But, you know, every time I come back and I look at it, I see this and I think, well, this is really app layer stuff, right?
Yep.
Now, here's an interesting question. Let's say we wanted to build, remember this is back-end stuff, right? But let's say we wanted to build a little CLI tool that sort of did this work also. So it just wasn't chat app, let's say. Like we wanted to replace the chat app with something else. Maybe a GUI, or I don't know why we would want to do that, but we would want to do that. This is what I'm always looking at. We want a different client. Every client is essentially responsible for the app layer.
Okay.
Right? The business layer is supposed to be giving it everything it needs.
Yes.
But the app layer is what would change. So one could argue that, right? Am I asking the new app layer to have to re-implement Handshake? Not really, because we buried it inside of chat. So the new app layer would use chat. The new app layer would use chat. One could argue that this chat is a business layer package in the sense that it's implementing these business layer concerns. We just didn't formalize it at a domain level. We did it in an SDK level. Yeah. But I don't think there's anything that, you know, again, remember, we didn't know enough either, sort of as we went on.
Exactly. We were building it out.
I could easily argue, and you could easily argue, that if we wanted to, we could add a business layer, call this the chat biz package, right?
Chat bus.
And like, let's just see what that would look like for a second, right? Even if you just move it in a raw, right? So you add a new folder called business, right? And then under business, we have what we would call the chat bus, right? Because we have chat app, we have chat bus. Then we could argue that all of this, okay, could go into here. So we take that sort of out of there for a minute. Now, this would all be chat bus, right? And you would be a chat bus. Okay. You're now using chat business chat bus, right? Oops. And now this is a chat bus user, fine. Anywhere that we were doing that. Yeah, so almost all of that would be just chat bus user, right? And so now we're saying, okay, this is our chat bus. It represents this. I would rename to what?
Chat bus.
Chat bus. It has its model. Now, the user package, we could continue to keep it inside to say that only chat bus uses this little users package here, right? It's really just giving us some basic storage. We could also have built an interface around, oh, we did build an interface around here, right? So if we were to follow the, let's finish getting this to no longer bug out, but so then this is business chat bus, and once again, that's it right there, chat bus. And here again, we would have business chat bus, and we would do that, right? And then on the routing side, we do the same thing, business chat bus, and we've got that. And now on the main side, all right, we've got business chat bus and chat bus. Now I would call this chat bus just to maintain that sort of consistency. I would come here. I would say you're now a chat bus. And on the routes, right, I would do it again. This is kind of how we normally label it if it's going to be business related. And you're fine there. And we've got,
Still have
and that's
that
fine, right? That's business,
business chat bus.
chat bus users, and just looking at where that is, right? A new user. So save that. So now, right, we go back to that idea of the way we implement a lot of projects at Ardan. What we're doing now, you see what you wanted to see, right? You wanted to see the idea of a chat bus because we have a chat app, and this is the sort of logic that we needed, which now means any app layer could come in, sort of leverage this underlying. Now, the only other thing I would change, if you go and you look at
is putting the storage in the business
in here, right? Okay. And normally what we would have called that something like if I go look at service again real quick, just so. Oh, I moved it in the wrong, it came over here, so hold on. So if we look at service really quick and we look at our business and the domain and like user bus here, right? We had user DB, right? As an implementation, right?
Got it. Okay.
But we could have called this, maybe you call this rename user, but it's not like DB in terms of us talking to a database, right?
Yeah,
this was like
storage.
It was more of an in-memory, right?
Okay. User mem. Yeah.
So let's say we called that user mem. Actually, it can't be capital because that's not idiomatic. So let's say you called it user mem, where this is a memory implementation, which is what it is, of our thing here, right? We call that user mem. Then this is using an interface, so it doesn't particularly care. This now is storage.
Storage user mem.
And then here we're constructing a new user memory, right? And
okay.
now you're more in line with the idea that you could have different implementations of sort of storage that we need, right? And this is one that's just giving us basic sort of everything's in memory, right? And yeah, I think this wasn't a bad idea. Now, the only other change I would make to this, though, is we would call this, like if we go back to service, right? We call this the store, right? We'll even call it store here. I don't know if the rename will work after what I did. Rename. All right. We also would call this business. So I rename this to business just to be more in line with how we do things when we're going to have a business. And then this would be a new business.
Got it. Okay. Right. And that looks familiar.
Yeah.
With
now
how we usually.
Yeah. Now it looks much more sort of familiar, right?
And that's.
Now this was supposed to be. Oh, so my guess is this now would be a store, right? We're using the interface, so the renaming didn't sort of take there, but that's kind of cool now, right? Because yeah, I don't like the order of the new business, but that's another. So normally, now that I've got that store, right, I would have had this. Probably would have put store after the connection just because it's a sort of bigger.
Yeah, it's a bigger
thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a big deal here because now we can just sort of do that. But, you know, as I'm reading it, it didn't feel right. And these are all little refactorings you should be doing when the question sort of pops up. But now this is in a much more better sort of place from an Ardan perspective, right, on how we do things.
Yeah, and I think it's a little easier to find what you need now. You know, okay, we have the business layer. It kind of separates the two from just being one big app layer.
The other thing, too, is I think it helps with the idea that this is server-side code.
Yes.
You know how I keep getting in trouble with the front end code because
Yes.
we always do this, right? On all projects, though most front ends are in JavaScript, we're collapsing all of the front end code into here, which is fair. And the majority of the project is really about the server side. But the server side is so small in this project related to the work we had to do on the client side. So that's also been sort of interesting, right? But this definitely puts us in a more Ardan-y sort of place.
It's more familiar.
But at the time we started, we didn't know enough, and so I think that was fire, right? But I think this is a good sort of refactoring now because we've got essentially this is our business layer.
Yeah.
Now we can replace the app layer. The app layer again doesn't do much. It shouldn't do much.
It's just kind of routing.
Handles the handshake call.
Yeah.
Knows how to return the errors there, and then sits in the listen. App layer is real thin. I always want my app layer to be super, super thin like that. And yeah, and now it's not really, I mean, it was an SDK in the sense it was supporting the app, but I like that. All right, everything should work, I would imagine, right? So I'm not ready to run it, but I want to, I'm not ready to run this, but let's at least push this up. Just creating the business layer. We have to do the other work first before we sort of turn this on.
Yeah.
So we've got that now. Okay. So I think that was a good refactoring for this. I know it's going to help my brain because I'm used to reading at a domain level, right?
Okay.
Seeing that domain and then seeing this domain. So that was good. Okay, now let's get back to the business at hand. These messages here.
These messages.
So we're going to redo this. In fact, you're going to have to delete any messages you have as well because they're not going to work anymore.
Got it.
Now, again, this is all client stuff, right? So if we come back to our DB file disk related stuff, and we look for the code about messages, read message from disk, flush message to disk, which is essentially an append every time. All we accept is the slice of bytes, don't we?
Yeah.
So now I'm wondering, right, if we look at this a little bit more, that we define something called a message. And the message should be the name, right? That's like you or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be whether it's
encrypted or not.
Encrypted.
Encrypted.
I'm wondering why Copilot doesn't want to help me.
Yeah.
And then we have the actual message itself. Do you think like Copilot's not working?
Seems like it.
It's really weird, man. Normally it just jumps right in and wants to help to a fault, you know?
It wants to help too much.
I know. But now it's not even trying to help at all. So I find that super interesting.
Says it's running.
Says it's running, right? Huh. Well, I mean, we're not going to slow down for it. I just find it super interesting. Open chat. I mean, it's there, so it never clears the history.
No, it still has it.
That's just weird, isn't it?
That was from a while ago.
I'm almost not complaining because sometimes it's annoying as heck. But I'll have to look into that. I know everything just got like re-updated there. Unless, is there like another code completions all file?
Next edit. Is that
I must have turned off, which I don't really mind, to be honest with you. Huh. Yeah,
but I don't have
that's what it was. I had next edit suggestions sort of turned off. And I kept just code completions. Huh, that's interesting.
I don't have that little menu that pops up.
You may not have the latest.
Maybe not.
the latest version, which is, I don't know what the version is. Here, 129, 297. Look on the right, under installation over there. Whatever, dude. We're gonna keep
Yeah, it's
going.
alright.
But I don't think you have the
I think,
latest.
no, V1250 is what I have.
Yeah,
so
no,
I'm,
you're way
I'm,
behind.
I'm behind by a lot.
You're way behind. Okay, so if we do this message thingy, majiggy, right? Then I think the idea is that we accept. Oh, that has to be a slice too, by the way. That was the other mistake I fixed when you weren't around. By doing everything as a slice of bytes, we didn't get crazy character translations.
Oh, okay.
On the thing.
Because before it was all string, right?
Yeah, and it was causing all those problems, right? So we can do that, right? And then essentially here, what do? We say data. You should be driving here, bro. We want to convert that into a JSON document. So you need some variable, and then you need to use a JSON package, and it's gonna have
what is the
JSON dot.
JSON dot.
It's gonna be the Marshall.
Encode.
No, you don't need an encoder. You need Marshall.
Marshall.
And then you're gonna pass it the message. Now that does return an error, so
what is it, MSG?
You gotta handle the error with it.
MSG. Okay. And then I gotta get used to this. Why is it doing
because
that?
Look.
No, the green. I knew that. I'm saying the.
I don't know. It might be some new Copilot stuff, bro.
This is like weird. Okay.
But I was coding earlier today without it, so I don't know.
It's like confusing. Okay. And then.
Must be some new Copilot stuff.
I guess that's how it does the suggestion now. So.
Yeah, but I would take it, but then I'd get rid of.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
Oh, message. Yeah, we used message for everything.
Yeah,
so
we
I
did.
don't know.
Message.
So that's fine. But now you're gonna write that data instead of message there. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So hold on a second. Let's turn that off again.
Code.
Maybe that's why I turned it off.
Let's see.
Well, we'll see it on the next one. Yeah, I think that's why I turned it off. I went freaking nutso.
Okay, that's what it is then. It's just.
But I didn't have that on my other project, so maybe I turned it off everywhere.
It's like super invasive.
Yeah. I know, that was like really.
Yeah. Like it's confusing because it's like doubling. Your eyes are going everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but it should still be doing code completion anyway. So look, now we given a message, we can write that to disk, and then we add the string. So it should be one line at a time. And then
so flash message is okay. So it's adding it to disk that way with the.
Now this should be what? What should the return be on that?
Well, why is it 2?
Because that was before. It was a slice of a set of bytes.
Oh.
Right. But now it should be a slice of what?
A slice of message?
Yeah, exactly. No. One slice.
Oh, okay.
Of message. And then you got to change line 153 because it's of the wrong type.
Okay, yeah.
You see, now if you look at
no
slice of message. Now if you look at our scanner, it's reading one line at a time. So those bytes represent essentially a JSON document. So right in here now, you've got to do the JSON.unmarshal call.
Got it. Okay, and then that's going to be taking in the messages.
No, it takes in the data that we just read, which is 157. It's the bytes. Hover over on Marshall.
So it takes in B.
Yeah, it takes in B. But now you need to declare a variable above that of type message.
So then, okay. So.
Like var msg message. And then you pass the address of that as that second parameter.
And then you pass it.
Now that's going to return an error.
Yep. I'm just gonna
You got to
return.
process the error.
So then it's if error, and then I always forget this.
Yep, that's good.
That, and then you do this semicolon, and then
Not if, you already have the
error.
error.
Why did it jump here?
Because you hit the wrong button. You're missing the equal there. No, dude.
No, just equal. I keep hitting this delete button here.
Yeah, I know, that keyboard is rough. No, it's not equal, right?
Right. That, see, I keep deleting the wrong things here.
I know, the keyboard's a
There we
little
go.
off.
Okay, and then
You're going to have to return... You know, what's funny is we put an error on here and we never used it. So I'm going to have to return nil. And you can just... and then a fump dot error f and just put on Marshall :%w.
on Marshall
Colon
%w.
%w. And then the error. Yeah. So now a couple things we can do here. Now you have to append message here. So do that.
Append messages to MSG.
MSG. And then technically we don't need B anymore, do we?
So just scanner.bytes.
Yeah, I mean, it ain't helping us anymore. So now what we're going to do is read JSON line at a time. And that's what this does, right? One message at a time, appends it, and then we can read that all back and then process that. So we've got the ability now to write and flush this. Now, we may want to change this API, though, to take the three, I don't know yet, to take the three fields, but let's take a look here. So when we do a query by contact, what happens here? We read all the messages from disk. We got to change
because
this.
that is still the other type.
So change that. Okay, save that.
Message or messages?
Well, that's at the app layer. Oh, no, wait a second.
Yeah.
That's bad. Hold on. So what that now tells me is, it just gave me heartburn. So now that we're using this type, okay, at the storage layer, what this tells me now is we need another type here. I can't make the other one exported and use it. That would be a mistake. That's a leaking, sort of a leaking of a lower level sort of thing. And so I'd much rather just define my own type here.
Got it. Okay.
Now, my guess is we're going to have the same problem here. But we'll deal with that in a second.
App.message.
Yeah. But, I mean, I know what this is.
Not message. Yeah.
I almost don't like the name message anymore, to be honest. I mean, it's not the text, but it could be encrypted text, couldn't it?
It could or it couldn't.
Well, it's always, I think what might be better is either content.
I like content.
Content. So remember, we use this to define sort of the type system that we're using, right? Now, this is not supposed to have JSON tags at this level, honestly. So this is our messages now. We're defining that type here. Content which is the slice of bytes and all of that. If I come back to DB file, DB file is using the app layer type, right, through the interface that we've sort of defined.
Yeah.
So when we read these messages off of disk, okay, and we have this slice of messages. Now the problem is that this is a slice of an internal set of messages as opposed to the app layer type. Now, I don't think we should be using the app layer type for this at all. We got to stay abstracted from that.
Okay.
So what this tells me then is, though we've written this slice, unfortunately, what we're going to need to do, right, if there are no messages, now what we're going to need to do, range through the messages, all right, and then we're going to know at this point equals make
Okay.
that
The string of that. Okay.
length of messages, and then we can say uMessages sub I equals, now it's an app message, and an app message contains the three things, right? The name, which would be, now I wonder though if the compiler, now that I think about it, might let me do a conversion because it's a one-to-one, and it won't. No new variable. Oh, shoot.
The dot. Yeah.
Comma. So it's letting me do a conversion because the memory matches 100%.
Because because all the fields are
Same
are the
order, same size.
Okay.
Compiler will let me do a conversion there. One day it may not let me do a conversion, but in this case it does. And because of that, we know the length. We can just index into sort of uMessages. So what happens is we get a copy of what's currently in contacts.
Yeah.
If it's empty, we read off disk, we populate it, and then we value semantic it back in. So that's helping us.
Got it. Okay.
Right? And we have to do this to keep our data systems flexible. Now we're going to have the same problem here, insert a message. So this is the interface part, right? So we know there's three parts to this now, but ideally, now one could argue is that what we want is an app message. We want to change this interface to accept an app message. Have the upper layer give us these three pieces of information. And then when you flush to disk, remember the twos, we always have these two functions that are sort of converting, but I think we could get away with a conversion again because the data is the same.
So there you're just converting it.
So we'll just do a conversion there. Normally I would want a two function to make it clear we're going from
this to that.
Right, to this from that.
To this. Okay.
But if that ever changes, that will go red. I think we'll be fine there. So we're going to have the same problems now sort of here. Oh no, this is the content. Just leave it like that for now. Now this content though assumes a couple things, right? The fprint line takes an IO writer and sort of any number of, we really now need an F here because the format is going to be %s, %s /n.
So string new line.
But message.name, remember?
Okay, so it'll be name : got it.
Now,
Content
the problem though is that
for each message.
didn't we call this name? App.
MSG.
Did I not make it? Yeah, name, right? Oh, I'm missing a comma. Okay. So we're going to have to now do the name and content to make that work because now we've got the JSON document. We were assuming the string was always sort of one, right? Which isn't necessarily good. There's going to be there's more problems here too, but now we changed the interface, remember? Insert message.
Okay, yes.
Now takes a insert message, now takes
message, app message.
An app message. So again, we're letting the app layer sort of drive all that.
Got it. Okay. So we're wanting to use the app layers above. So we're wanting to use that.
It's data
That
models,
that
so we
model.
don't have to have duplicates. The beautiful part of the interface also is that we're telling the storage layer and we're telling the UI layer that you're going to use the data models from the app layer,
Got
right?
it. Okay.
So we're not going to import you. You're going to import us. We're going to gain access to you through this interface, and you're going to use my data models at the end of the day. You
Okay.
should have your own to do your low level stuff, but when you
Mhm.
give me back stuff, I want you to give it back to me
In my
this form.
Yeah.
Right? And that eliminates extra sort of conversions for those support packages.
Got it.
If those
Okay.
packages want to use those models directly, which we're not going to put JSON tags or anything on it, so it
Mhm.
can't. But if we wanted to, it could. Like, I don't care what you do as long as you give me back the data in this form.
Yeah.
So we're
Got it.
defining that.
Got
Now,
it.
this was the part that I was worried about. Because, insert message now takes a message, right?
Yep.
So now what we have is app.message. Oh, we're already in app layer.
So just message.
And now here we'd have to say the name. I don't know what the name is at all. We're in a receive cap message. So
ID from ID.
in message from name equals, so it must be this.
Yep.
Right?
Incoming message from name.
Then we've got if it's encrypted. See, right now I don't know if it's encrypted. We had some pre-processing that we did. Remember that returned it both the decrypted and the encrypted. Oh, I think what we do is I think this returns it empty if it's not encrypted, essentially.
Decrypted data and message.
Oh, this is the receive side anyway.
If message. Oh no.
Yeah. I gotta go back again.
So if the message is not encrypted, it just returns nil.
But we know if it's encrypted because we've got it on the in message, right?
Yeah.
So then in message dot encrypted. Now this was the interesting part, the content. So I don't need this formatting anymore. Let's do that. Pre-processed received message given an input returned both the decrypted and the encrypted. I believe that what we did here was process a normal message. If it's not encrypted, then there is no encrypted message. It's nil.
Yeah, it's just message.
If it was, you get both what was encrypted and the decrypted. Okay, so this might be nil. So if I go back, this might be nil, right? We need basically the encrypted content if it does exist. That's what we need.
Yes.
At the end of the day. So we needed both because on the screen, we have to show the decrypted message. Now, I think we might have to change write text to take, let's go to the UI for a second.
Well,
I think we're going to have to do the following too. Hold on, before we fix that. Write text.
Okay.
Let's have it take a message. Yeah. Let's say that it took a message. Remember, when we write to the screen, it has to be the decrypted message.
Yes.
When we write to disk, it has to be the encrypted one, if that exists, right?
So disk is always going to get the encrypted version, and the screen is always going to get either decrypted or just the regular
it has to, yeah.
Message if there was no encryption done.
So come back here for a second. This becomes fairly easy. We go back to what we did here, right? I don't know if we need a, probably do. Message.name. I always forget the comma here, dude. What's up with that? and then message dot content.
Okay.
So in this case, we don't care if it's encrypted or not. We're just going to use it as is.
And same thing there.
I don't remember the logic here, but that's fine.
ID is current ID.
And then here it says, oh, write text needs a. So this is when we're trying to write an error message to the system, right?
Yes.
Even this we could clean up by having some support functions for it. But name.
So here we're just going to put system. Yeah.
System,
okay.
right? And then we're going to have content. Is
Okay.
that. Then we're going to pass message. All right.
So now, because it's taking a message, we have to do that like struct like that.
Yeah, but we want, because it's giving us a little more fine control over how we're doing things, right?
Yeah.
So now the problem is, so this is now where we need a little support function to sort of do this, because we're doing this sort of everywhere, right?
Yeah. Error.
I know this is going to return a message, and this is going to have to give us the content, and we ask for it as a slice of bytes, right?
The content is a slice of bytes here.
I think so, because if I come back here now and I see this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, we can do this instead. Let's steal this for our input. See, if I steal that for our input, then this can be func.sprintf. Oh no, sorry. This can be
append. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's taking basically anything as long it's just okay.
Because then I can come in here, come back here, and just change this out to be
error message.
Error message, right?
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah,
and then you feed it. Okay. I see.
So anywhere I see that, I just do that. Nice and clean, you know.
Done.
We're just sort of doing the formatting ourselves, so that's fair. Now we're back to where we started. We get back the decrypted and the encrypted message. So we could change this API to what we want in storage and what we want on screen, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Right? So we could say on storage, on screen. We could do that.
And now we're naming the return type.
I am, just for documentation purposes right now. I won't use it. So look, in this case, this is going to be on storage and on screen.
Okay.
It's the same.
Because it's
right.
Oh, okay. Because
this
it's not
will be on storage. That will be on screen.
Yes.
Okay. And that's basically it. Now that is on storage and on screen. Okay. However, in this case, we're going to make a mistake with the encryption part. but maybe not. Let's see what happens there.
Why would it be a mistake?
Well, nothing's encrypted when you're in the processing of the commands anyway.
Yeah.
So it won't be encrypted true. So we'll be okay here.
Got it.
Problem could be here. So on storage on screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I go back to this for a second. So now we know this is on storage on screen. See, now our life gets a little bit better. Now, what I was doing here was checking to see if the message started with a slash, right?
Yes.
But I feel like I should have done that instead. In message, right? Like, I don't like that I did this. I feel like that was better. So if it's not a command, right?
Mm-hmm.
This insert message is for what's going in storage. Agreed?
Yeah.
We write message here. Then what we can do is say message.content equals
on screen.
What we want on screen, and we do that. That's kind of where I was trying to get to.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Gives us both. Gives us the ability to...
because at the end of the day, on storage is the one that's changing, not on screen. On screen is always going to show...
Yeah, we want to see the actual
we always
text
want to see
written.
the text.
But this gives us the ability to, like, decide what's going on storage, what's going on screen.
Got it.
And I think we're going to have to do the same thing with this preproce here, right? So on storage, on screen, error, right?
Mm-hmm.
So nil, nil, nil. Now on storage, and this would have to be this, right?
Yep.
So it's both the same. Here's the encrypted data for storage, and then we just do this twice, right?
Got it. Okay.
Error message returns a... Oh, yeah.
That's the one we find.
Content, I guess. I mean, technically, I don't even need that call there. This could just be a frump.sprintf connect.
Yep.
And it would be clear. I can't use ERR here because... Oh, but it wants it in the slice of bytes. So that's the appendf, isn't it?
Yes.
And then it doesn't have a nil. So I think that's essentially what we needed here because we just need the string. But this is the other side of it. This is what I was looking for.
Preprocess send.
Yeah, so preprocess send message now would be on storage, on screen error, right?
Yes.
So this would be on storage, on screen error. Now let's see the silly stuff that I did here. If the encrypted message was not nil, we had to use the right message here. Was the problem? I had to use the encrypted message if it was encrypted.
Oh, okay.
So what this code essentially did was, because Because remember what happens here.
Yeah, you check if it's a command, if not this, yeah. Encrypted.
There was no key. Like there's no key in our database.
Yeah.
So we have on storage. So we always want to use what's on storage here, in other words. So I think what happens is if we just use on storage, we're fine. Just need what's on storage.
Okay,
And
instead of signing what's encrypted.
we always sign what was going to be going on storage, right?
Okay.
Because
yeah.
because of that. Now, the outgoing message is now a problem because we don't know if this was encrypted or not. Now, the only way we would know if it was encrypted or not, let's go back here. How did we know the first time? Because there's no user key, but we passed the user in. So let's go back a second. We have the user.
Yep.
We know if the user has a key. So var encrypted bool.
Okay.
If user key doesn't equal this,
Is not equal to empty.
then it was encrypted.
Yes.
So that solves this problem. The outgoing message, however, needs to be what was going to be on storage. Fine. So I like all that, right? Now, now we're trying to know if it was a command or not. I don't know why I wanted to use the decrypted. We should just do that again. Message sub 0, which was the second parameter to this. So this should just be message sub 0. I'm not altering message anymore. I was before. I was like reusing the variable.
Okay.
Now, we're back to this.
That you don't need those anymore.
No, but we sort of should be able to steal some code from the other side, right? Where we also did the insert message. That's what I want.
That. Yep.
So the name.
But now it's a.
It's okay. It's the. Let's see. Which function is this? This is for when we're sending it. So we know the name is user.name. We know encrypted is this.
Yep.
And we start with on storage. And we say message dot content equals on screen. Right?
Okay, yeah. So
that should work.
Oh, because on storage is okay, it's inserting here and then okay, I understand. I was thinking why not just put on screen there, but it's because it's inserting.
Because we always want to make sure we're inserting what's encrypted versus what's not encrypted.
Yep.
So everything just went yellow. So it will be fun to see what happens. I'm sure we broke something, but you need to get rid of your
I did
messages.
The whole directory or just
no, just what's in it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Handling storage better now. let's do it. Okay, so what time is it already? Damn, dude, it's been an hour so far.
Oh wow.
Okay, so what is it? Make
Cap.
run cap.
Make run cap.
Yeah.
Make cap run.
Make run cap.
And make run client.
Make run client. We gotta fix that too. Do that in alphabetical order. I'm gonna fix that too. Okay, you just said, "Hey Bill, here's your message encrypted."
Nice.
It says Kevin, hey Bill there. I come back here and I see.
Cool. Okay.
That's nice, right?
And that's through the marshalling that we did.
Yeah, the marshalling generator. Now, we don't do anything here. I'm going to come out, run my client again. Now that's bad, right? Because we're seeing the encrypted message there. We need to decrypt it. That's the piece we forgot.
Oh,
When we load it up, we've got to decrypt these messages
that are in storage.
to put them back on the screen.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so let's just fix that real quick. Now that problem, unfortunately, is going to be here in the UI because this is when we're reading the messages here.
Mm-hmm.
This message, if it's encrypted, we have to de-encrypt it. Now the problem is that we're asking the UI to know how to do that.
So yeah, which is not ideal.
No. So ideally, what has to honestly happen is we could start by saying that query contact by ID should always return all the messages de-encrypted because we only use this for UI related stuff, right?
Yeah.
So ideally, this is where it should happen.
Somewhere.
Now, we have another problem though. We agreed that this encryption is a app layer concern.
Yeah, storage should not have to know how to
Not necessarily
encrypt and decrypt, just how to store.
Right. So we've got a problem because where do we do any encryption at all?
Message encrypted on storage. Encrypted.
Where do we do the encryption? Here.
Decrypt.
See, the problem now is that the app layer is the only one that could properly, unless we extend this knowledge into the storage layer. So one thing we could do, the problem is this has to give us back the messages decrypted, or the UI can't use this. The UI has to use an app layer version. In other words, we do this. Which at some point in my life, I had done this.
So no more storage interface.
How come we didn't store the app layer? So let's say we do this for a long minute. We move these calls to the app layer, okay?
Okay.
That solves a couple problems too, dude. That's gonna solve the hack, I think, that we had to do down there. Watch. I won't need this anymore. Let's go to main for a second. Oh, shit.
Mm.
We had the set, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll still have that problem. So, in this case, let me go back to this. That goes away. Can't use it. Hold on. We can't pass it in anymore, right? We were passing in DB. Now, the problem here is we do have a UI. Okay, so we could still call it through the app layer. We call this through the app layer, right? That's fine. And then I can't set this here. I don't have it. It's a chicken and the egg problem. We'll come back to this, right? We need to construct the UI for the app. So we created this set app, remember?
Mm-hmm.
What that also, and the app already has the DB. So all this stays the same for now. What we now need to do is these two, right? Let's find contacts first. Here's contacts.
Yep.
So now the app layer, I want exported stuff. Here we go. All right. Now the app layer needs to implement contacts, which is easy because all that is a return app.db.contacts. Oh, we got to expose that now too. So DB no big deal. So now we expose from the storage layer contacts.
Oh, okay.
All right, because then we can just say contacts.
Boom.
That's easy. Then we expose our own implementation of this. All right.
And we don't need app.user, right? It's just user.
We just, right, exactly. And let's just do a pass through for a second here too, even though we're going to have to do more. So again, this would be app.db.query contact by ID, whatever the ID is, just for now, for a second.
Okay.
So we're going to expose these endpoints now through the app layer. Okay. So then what happens here is everything's fine because our app implements the full, well, that takes that, but we have storage. So now the app layer has to implement this entire set of APIs, okay? Well, actually, that's not, that's just storage. It actually comes down here. The app layer now has to implement everything. So the TUI says, okay, I'm going to ask the app layer to query contacts. I'm going to ask the app layer. In fact, it makes more sense because we're using an app layer model. So it kind of tells me already we were sort of maybe wrong in leveraging the storage API when we see that app type, right? That was kind of a smell.
Got it. Okay.
Now, here's the thing. Now that we've got this here, okay, what does that mean? Well, that means now that we get back a user and or an error.
Yep.
If error doesn't equal nil, let's just say we return for now a user and an error, right?
Yep.
Now we're playing with power because range user messages, right?
Okay.
If message is encrypted, right? Now I gotta find the decryption code, which is right here, right?
Okay. So then we're gonna decrypt it and then return.
No, we're gonna.
Or we're just gonna write it.
Yeah, we're gonna
Then we're just
reset
gonna
it.
write it.
Message content equals decrypted, and then we can say message dot encrypted now equals false. Let's say.
Okay, got it. So yeah, you're returning the decrypted version of it.
Yeah, but now we've got to put it back in. So
Yes. Return user. And no. So now you're basically returning the user with the decrypted version of messages.
yeah,
and
when we
encrypts
call
it to false.
query, you get back everything decrypted, right? And it's at the app layer. We're not mixing concerns anymore. And now we just force the app layer to have to implement these behaviors, which it's the only one that can, because it only knows how to do with decryption.
Got
So
it. Okay.
TUI doesn't ask for storage anymore. It only asks for app
Yeah.
layer, right?
Send message, contacts, and query contact by ID.
Yeah. And then that should work for us. And guess what? So now if I start this, it blows up. So let's look on TUI 79.
TUI.
Okay.
Ranging through contacts.
Now that's because on startup we haven't. Okay, now we got chicken and the egg problem. At startup here we haven't. We don't have this API anymore in startup. We don't get it until we set. So this may need to move.
So we can move that down. Oh, okay. UI. Okay.
Yeah. Now what's interesting about this is we might not need this anymore either. Why didn't we do that before? We don't need all this hacking anymore.
No.
We just set the contacts at the time we do the set app, and we load everything there. Now that gets rid of the other hack we had. When these things start happening, you know it was a good move.
Yeah, when it,
right?
It starts falling into place a little better.
Yeah, things fall in place a little bit better. So now I see the decrypted message there.
Got it.
All right, let's have a couple of small messages here. Okay, fixing decrypt on load. All right, make run client. So I want to fix this sorting shit, bro.
Make run client.
That should be sorted.
See, I got an error.
Okay, but what's in your thing? Go look in your database.
Let's see. Okay.
So that message.
Encrypted, true. It was encrypted.
Did I ever send you something during this session?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, close this and delete that message.
Okay.
I don't know what the deal is there. You don't have to remember. You don't have to restart the cap. This is all client stuff. Delete that message. That don't make any sense. All right, now start.
Okay, now we're
Invalid nonce, possible security issue with contact.
Oh, because
got 2, expected 1.
Because you're showing that we had messages and I deleted.
No, but that shouldn't have affected our.
Yeah, I show 10. 10 and 3. 10 and 3.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah, it should be the opposite. 10-3. Some message came in, and I don't know what that was about. Maybe it was, I don't know. Let's keep going because somebody came in and maybe there's a bug there. But
Okay.
hey, Kevin. All right,
I got it.
You got it.
Oh, it shows me as Bill.
All right, so we have a bug.
Yeah.
Because.
And you as me.
All right, so we've introduced some more bugs here, which is fine. When I said hi, Kevin, that wrote to this as Kevin, even though I hit send. So
yes, not as you.
That's a long encrypted message too, which is interesting. Anyway, let's take a look at that code now. So what happened is I'm in the UI, agreed.
Yep.
I hit the button.
Okay.
And I want to send this message to you. So that's app layer, send message handler.
User dot. Okay.
That's
yeah.
supposed to be you.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the problem there. So let's clean up our database again. Let me push that. All right. Before I push it, I'm going to delete all the messages again. What's funny is Joseph sent me, I got something from Joseph, but we never saved the message. So Joseph might not be running the latest, greatest code, and that's what we saw. I saw something that message came on the Joseph side, but we didn't really, since I wasn't on Joseph, it didn't get written, and we sort of missed it, right? It didn't get written, which is sucks. It needs to be written to the logs, and it came on a screen when you and I were talking, which was bad. So we got some bugs there to sort of clean up. Okay, so, fixing you. All right, make run client. All right, let me know when you're up.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna say, hey, Kevin. Now, why is our not, so when there's an error, we're probably not updating the nonce properly, because what happens is you sent it, but I got some sort of error, and then I'm not updating the nonce, right?
Yeah.
Because I got 12.
I have 5 and 12.
Right. I was expecting, so I didn't update the last
2 messages.
Ooh.
The last nonce isn't updating.
No, so we broke something. So let's do this.
Like when you're receiving.
Okay,
right?
so you just sent 12, right?
Yeah.
Let me do the following. I'm going to put that back to 12. Let's see if we broke that too. Okay, no, that got updated.
And it updated for me. Okay. And that got updated for me.
Okay. So where is the bug, man?
I think it's on like maybe.
Okay, we have to do the following. No matter what, let's take a look at this code again. No matter what happens, when a message comes in, the nonce has to be updated. Absolutely. Yes. Whether it fails or not is irrelevant, right? So here is received cap. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So our problem is we're not updating the, when do we update the nonce?
Update contact nonce.
Okay. Let's move this code up for a second, because I don't know what we need from this. Message comes in. We unmarshal it. I need to know you as a human being first and foremost.
Yep.
So I can move this up to, as long as you're in my system, I can update the nonce. So no matter what happens, we update the nonce, right? Or the nonce fails. Then we can do the pre-processing. So if encryption fails or anything, it doesn't matter. I've at bare minimum updated the nonce.
Got it. Okay.
So that I think is good. Now, what about on the send side? Yeah, that's where I put it. I put it, oh no, that's pre-process. That's,
Send.
let me do something here.
Our problem isn't sending it. It's.
Oh no, this is smart. I don't want to update the nonce until I know it went out. Then I have to update it. Updating it before doesn't help. So I think the bug was that we were not updating the nonce quick enough. So now the next message would fail and life would be bad there. Okay. Now, there's another bug too. For some reason, let's go back to that logic here, which is in the app layer, which is right here, right? I don't want to do a return here. I almost just want to... I hate else clauses, but I don't see any way around it for now.
An else clause from Bill. Wow.
No, it's not going to stay much longer, bro. Okay. Because what I want to see... What is this complaining about? Oh. All right. What I want to see here is... Okay.
Well, it didn't give the error again. I think it just...
What I don't understand is why. So the first one failed. Hi, Bill is fine. Everything from Kevin is fine. Anything from you is failing. Watch.
But it's not popping up again because these are saved.
No. It's when we're writing my message, the decryption is wrong. When yours comes in, it reloads. So we have to look at what I'm doing when I hit send. Do you see the pattern?
Okay.
Look at the pattern.
Yeah.
My message, decryption error. Your message, fine. My message, decryption error.
Yeah.
Your message.
Okay, so it's when you're sending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back to pre-process. It's going to be somewhat here. Send message, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're getting it. This is all fine. I mean, you're getting it, aren't you?
Yeah.
So why is anything that I'm... Okay. Pre-process send message. It's weird. Oh, because I need your key to decrypt that.
Oh, you don't have my key.
I do have it
Okay.
in my database. Okay, I know what's going on. I can't use my key to decrypt your messages, right?
Mm-hmm.
So look, I'm using my private RSA key, but I need your... Where is it where I decrypt yours? Preprocessed received message.
It's an incoming message. App.id.
Yeah, but that's wrong.
RP.
It has to be. I can't be using the private key to decrypt your messages when they come in. That doesn't make any sense. I need to use your public key. Oh, no, no. I need my private key to decrypt because you used my public key. Fine. Fine. So that makes sense, okay? Because when you send me a message,
Yeah.
you're using my public key. So I can use my private key for that.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is when I send you a message, my same private key should work. Let's go back. When I sent you a message, here's receive. You used my public key. I use my private key. I can decrypt it.
Okay.
When I do a send, let's find the send call. I encrypt it
Using public
using
key.
your public key.
Okay.
Oh, dude, I could never de-encrypt it again. Oh, maybe I can I should be able to de-encrypt it with your, no. Can I de-encrypt with your public key?
If I'm sending to you, you're using my public key to decrypt it.
That would be bad. That would break all encryption. So here's the problem. I'm encrypting the message to you, right? Using your public key.
Mm-hmm.
You're the only one that can decrypt that.
Okay.
So essentially, when I'm writing to my database on the messages that I'm sending to you, if I want to see them again, I can't. Yeah, Joseph's right. I can't write that to the database as encrypted. Now, if I want to keep them encrypted, I'd have to encrypt that message with my private key, essentially, so nobody could see it. That's the problem, right?
Got it. Okay.
So it's super interesting here. So remember, when I sent a message to you, I used your public key to do that encryption.
Yes.
You used mine. So it's easy for me to do this. If I want to keep things encrypted in the database for the things that I send, this would have to be written to the database using my private key.
Got it. And that's the only way you wouldn't be able to.
The only way I'd be able to decrypt it.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm getting it.
So essentially what this is telling me, and they're saying the volume is low, which is interesting. They're the only person that's saying that. So I don't understand that. Anyway, so we have a choice here. I think if we want to do encryption on storage, we're not going to be using private public keys at the app layer. The storage layer should have its own.
The storage layer should be able to encrypt
It
them.
has to do it itself. That's a function of storage, not a function of app. The function of app is us sending messages back and forth. But if we want to do encryption at the disk level, then that's a storage concern. We always give it the unencrypted messages.
Storage always gets the unencrypted and encrypts it itself.
If we want to do that. So let's, for now, not do encryption at the storage level, and then we can fix the storage level APIs later to sort of do that.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
I still like the change we made, though, to the app layer, I think, where the app layer now has these APIs. But I think now what happens here is this just becomes a pass-through, all right? Let's just do pass-through again. That's fine. And then everything that was pre-processed, let's see what happens. Let's look at the pre-processing again. On storage, on screen. So technically, we need to do that for both of these, right? Pre-process the received message. So essentially now we just need that, don't we? We always return the decrypted message. Okay. We've got to do encryption. I've never done this before, so but it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Now it totally makes sense. Now, I think it's going to be the same thing for this.
Yeah, it's just always going to be what we're displaying is going to the storage, and then the storage is going to be in charge of
If it wants to,
encrypting it.
if we want to do encryption at the storage layer, then that has to be done at
It has to be done
there. Now, when it comes to the send message, though, I think we do need both. I think we need the encrypted and I think we need both the encrypted and the decrypted here.
Okay.
Because this is doing the encryption, right? And we need both here. Okay. So if we come back here for a second, this is the encrypted, decrypted. Because let's call this instead, because this is what our real problem now is, right? This is on wire, on screen, right? Let's call it that, on wire, on screen. So that's both, none, none. That's what we're going to be putting on wire, the encrypted data, right? That's on screen. Yeah, on wire, on screen. And if I call it this way, this is on wire, on screen. So we always want to sign what's going on wire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Outgoing message is what's on wire. But what we're doing here is on screen. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So on this one, it's on wire, on screen, but on the other one, it's really just the message.
Got it. Okay.
So that means that we don't particularly care now about encrypted or not, because it doesn't mean anything to us anymore. You know what I'm saying? The storage layer will care.
Yeah, the storage layer will encrypt it all, but
Will care if we when and if we implement that, but
it'll already have a, because we're still encrypting it using the public keys while we're sending and receiving from each other.
yeah, no, that we have to do.
Okay. So
But-
it's just gonna basically encrypt it again in the storage layer.
Right, but it can have a different set of it's going to have a different set. It's going to have its own private
Yes.
key for all
Yes.
of that, right?
Yes. Okay, got it.
All right. Is the problem. See, we can't do the conversions anymore.
And then that becomes
Yeah. And then we'll come back and worry about the encrypted flag, which will always stay false at this point.
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we still have work to do there for that.
We would, yeah. We still have work
Okay.
to do there for that. It was my mistake thinking we can use the same keys, but we can't because if I could decrypt with your public key, anybody could steal a
Yeah,
message.
if they have my public key, they
Oh,
can steal the message.
no,
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
think
it makes
solves.
sense.
It doesn't. It like defeats the whole purpose of everything we're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Fixing storage. So this was a waste of a day. But
we found the right answer.
the problem is if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. Like
Yep.
you learn more by making mistakes than you do anything. Oh, so wait, now we got to clear
Oh, yes.
all that because that was all bad. All right, messages gone. All right. So if we do it again, hey
Yep.
Bill, hi Kevin. Now I
Yep.
go back to our database of messages. That's bad.
It's a much shorter.
No, that shouldn't be encrypted. It should be the actual message right now,
Oh.
right? So I'm still not saving.
False.
No, I know it's bad.
Yeah.
I don't know how I have this bug. I thought we took care of it. So this is weird. Oh, let's go look at it again, dude. When I sent a message and I said on wire, I wrote what was on screen. So did I screw that up in the pre-processing message? On wire, send both, encrypted. Oh,
Because
wait, this is me sending it. So that should have been a non-encrypted message at that point,
yes.
right? That should have been the non-encrypted message at that point. And we know that is because I saw you, hi Kevin, on there, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I would have seen hi Kevin on screen is if I had done that. Oh, no, yeah, on screen. You on screen. So that one is weird to me because that was weird to me. So that one I don't understand. And then, no, that I don't understand at all. And then when we receive the message, I'm going to do it again. Then I receive the message. And this is from you. I just take back what was decrypted. It's the only thing I get back.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been impossible to insert a decrypted message because I don't have it. So can you tell me what's going on there? Because I don't understand.
Let's try that again.
I don't understand.
Let's see.
Plus, your message doesn't even look like that.
No, it's just like
It's almost like these bytes are getting converted. Let's double check something here. It's almost like the bytes. This was you on the receive, right?
yes, incoming message. Yes. So from me there. String message content.
Oh. Okay. This is funny. That's working there. Because when I'm writing it to disk, I'm writing out the actual, this is interesting. Remember, I'm converting the bytes are getting converted to a string here.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just read this in, right? There it is. That's what you wrote, testing. That's what I have. So this is what's interesting here. Here's insert message. Given a slice of bytes, we're converting those bytes to JSON. But if I look at this,
Slice of bytes.
yeah. Yeah. So ideally, if I did the conversion to a string, it would probably look sort of cleaner here. In other words,
So it's because it's bytes that it's.
yeah, I think so. I think so. This is funny stuff, right? Because we're really writing it in the form of a set of bytes here. So
Yes.
what we're seeing, sorry, I'm going to the wrong place. So what we're seeing on disk is the byte representation of that string here. Now, if I wanted to prove that to you, where was the message?
Testing.
Which is testing. Well, we know it anyway because I'm reading it back in anyway, right? Like on the UI side here, I'm reading it back in.
But that whole. So when we do the encryption, the set of bytes is what's going to be encrypted. In that sense.
Yeah, well,
once we
same thing that
that
we're doing over the wire anyway. So we're encrypting it. That's the list. I'm looking for this code here. So this is when we put it all back in, and you can see I'm converting those bytes to a string there.
And that's what gives us the actual message.
And then that's converting the bytes. I'm just trying off. It's been so long since I've dealt with this lower level stuff. Trying to prove to you that this is like the string representation of the bytes. Like JSON's doing this, right? Because it's a slice of bytes. So
can we put that to a variable and then convert it?
So if you watch this for a second. Hi, Kevin. So what did I just send over there to you?
That whole thing there.
I sent you this whole thing. This is the encrypted version, right? But these are just the raw bytes to that, and then those bytes are getting converted into that form. So if I wanted this to be cleaner at the storage level, right? Okay. We could do this. Where is that message type I had here? Here, right? If I turn this into a string, then we would see the
proper thing, and you wouldn't have to.
Yeah, you'd be able to read it like that. I mean, that's still kind of cool, but that might be. I wonder if that's a. I don't know. I wonder if JSON's doing a 64. What do they call that? A base 64 encoding, maybe.
Oh.
Hold on. Let's see something here. Base 64 encoding.
Online.
I'm lazy and I should be looking this up, but
yeah.
All right. So it's a base 64 encoding of the message, which is fine, right? It's not encrypted. I just saw I was able to do it. But that's what JSON is doing. It's just base 64 encoding it, so it would be a proper string.
Got it.
Okay, so that mystery is sort of solved there. Okay, so let's do one more thing here just because it drives me crazy. So now we're good, right? If we want to do storage level encryption, we can add that to our list of sort of things here for a second. So you're going to be doing that. The only other thing we might want to do here is storage level encryption. But I would say that that is a sort of lower priority at this point.
Got it.
I don't even remember some of that. Refactor client. But I'm just going to move that down there for a little bit. We would know how to do that, so it's not a problem. You're going to be doing this on Thursday, right?
Yep. So we'll just be doing another in the UI directory.
So we basically wasted the entire day coming to the realization that
our encryption is.
No, but we cleaned the code up a little bit at least.
We did. The business layer and all that.
Remove the business layer. I think this code is more cleaned up and better organized. And we have the, now we're sending messages encrypted. Like nobody can read the bus and know what you're sort of talking about, which is kind of cool. All right, so let me see where we are here then. So on Thursday, I'm going to be going to Vegas. So you're going to do Data Star client stuff yourself with Delaney.
Yep.
I think this could be fun, but I don't see a lot of value in that right now because we know how to do that at this point. We just need another key for storage, and we can do that. So I think what we learned is if we want to do that, we can. I don't think it's important anymore after the epiphany. The fact that we now have this API at a place where we have this message, right? We could do it. This is much cleaner now too. We didn't have that before. Now we've got a message. Now we also know why app message would have to be different than say disk message, because here we might say encrypted or non-encrypted.
Got it. Okay.
Now, what's also interesting then too is if the encryption happens, it can happen in DB file at this point. Now, we did make a change to the UI to have everything in the app layer interface, which I still think we wouldn't have had to make that change, but I still think it's a good change, right? Because the UI should just talk to the app layer. It shouldn't know anything about storage, to be honest with you. The app layer knows how to get contacts, and it gave the app layer the ability to do more there if it needed to. Plus, it's using these app layer types. So I had this originally, and I backed off on it only because the implementation of those methods were fairly wrappers, right? But I don't think that's a bad thing anymore. I think it gives us some flexibility to do like what we talked about if we need to do it. So I'm okay with that. The reason encrypted is set to false is because this is not encrypted data. It's just encoded. It's 64, base 64 encoded, essentially.
It's not encrypted.
It's
going
base
into
64.
storage.
Yeah, it's base 64 encoding. We saw that now. So we can do storage later if we really want. I don't think it's important, like as an exercise, sort of trivial at this point. These two things kind of keep me up at night a little bit.
The private stream and data file.
I keep going back and forth on whether I want to do that. Because here's the thing with the private stream. If we do private stream, then everything should be private stream.
Okay.
In other words, I'm going to set up a private stream with you. I'll set up
Every
a private
person
stream.
you message.
At that point, everyone should just have a private stream that's sort of set up between two people. Okay. And then that should just essentially stay established. Only because, now the nice thing about private stream is when you come back online, messages for you would be there. Because you're the only one that would be maybe consuming it. But we would have to think about that too, right? So in other words, if your socket connects to the cap, then the cap would establish this, right, would connect to the stream, and then you can get messages from before.
Got it.
That would be sort of cool, right? Because the idea of the private stream is between two people, right? It's the same sort of stream, providing sort of message caching, right? you wouldn't bring it down, but you'd also, right, you'd want to make sure also that like the name is sort of random but predictable. And I don't know how to do that just yet. Only because then if I know that if Kevin and Bill talk to each other, the name of their stream is going to be Kevin Bill. There's nothing stopping me on the side of connecting in and
Yeah.
right.
So that's where we have to do that algorithm that we had talked about.
But even that algorithm doesn't work because if we're going to keep the private stream up, so when you return it's there, right? Then what? So see, for me, then that would mean that we'd have to negotiate what the name of that stream is for each other. So what you could do is, you sort of provide a default name, and then in the config, and then that could be overridden maybe. Like you can negotiate your own sort of thing there. The other thing is maybe that only works when we share keys. But again, I can get you your key. So I don't know enough about this, but if the private stream would give us some of the other capabilities of like messages being there when you come back and things like that. Now, that would be also potentially setting up a large number of private streams sort of everywhere, right?
Got it.
And I don't know how nats to nats would work with all that stuff, but assuming whatever, they handled that. I wouldn't do a data file transfer without a private stream.
For sure.
Right? I'd want to keep that to a single stream. So I think there's some interesting values between a private stream, but if we do that, everything's private stream at that point.
Yeah, we have to make a decision, a general decision.
Yeah, everything's a private stream. There isn't a general stream that you start with, right?
Yeah.
You come in, you establish a relationship, Kevin and Bill, we have a private stream. The only thing that, even if everybody knew what it was, because data is encrypted, it wouldn't matter. The only thing that would suck is that maybe messages don't. But we need to learn about more of that, right? So think about group chat now. Sort of with group chat, I think group chat would work better with private streams as well. Because then everybody connects to the group stream, and then at that point, if everybody can see the messages that are there, then who cares if somebody else stole them? They're encrypted, whatever. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So
maybe private stream before group chat.
I think you need to, because if you're going to do the group chat, then I think the private stream is what you sort of want, right?
Yeah. And AI agent mode, what were we doing with that again?
That's the next one I'd prefer to sort of work on.
I think that would be cool.
Because what that would do now is allow you to run your client in an AI agent mode, where you think you're talking to me, but
okay, and it's responding. That's what it was. Yeah.
So
and it's responding.
I think this is the next one we should work on, right?
Yeah.
In our current sort of way. Then I think we have to do private streams where we do that. The stream name can start as something that's predictable. That's fine. And then we can sort of try to work that idea out. I may want to talk to David Gee a little bit more about
doing that,
about this. But ideally, I think we need to do that. And once you have a private stream between two people, you can have a private stream between a group of people. Yes. Once you have a private stream, you can transfer data. Because it will be too inefficient to do that on the one stream that we have right now, right? So I think we got to get to private stream no matter what. I keep pushing back on it because it's all Nazi stuff. But,
yeah.
Now, it would be good to have this in the UI. Oh, it's 5 minutes. Why don't we do this real quick? Because I think this one would be fast now that we've got messaging here, right?
Okay.
So if I go back to disk and I do message,
time stamp, time.date, time.
Oh no, time.time.
it time.time or wasn't it
Yeah, it's a
time
no.
time.now? Or
Now
no.
we'll construct a time.
Oh, okay.
So what's nice about if we do this, right? And I look at everywhere it's being used here. Yeah, I did that purposely.
On that.
See, flush to disk, the new message, right? That's fine there. So it would have to be done here. Okay, let me come back here now and undo the hackety hack. Don't talk back.
There it is. Yep. Timed on. Okay, that's where it goes. Yeah.
And let's just put it into a UTC. See, now when you read it back, right? So here's insert UTC, right? But when we read it back, insert message, insert contact.
Query contact by ID there. Yeah.
Right. So at the app layer, we add message date created, right? Okay. Here now you'd want to say date created, message dot date created dot local. I think you could just say local.
And that'll put it to their local time.
It should put it back into local time. Yeah, so UTC in, sort of local out.
Got it.
Okay. So we could just test that one more time. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, get commitment, adding timestamp. I'm going to push that. I'm going to do a make run client. Oh, let's sort this too right before we leave. This must come back as in a map or something. Hi there. I come back in here and now we've got, yeah.
They created, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom.
So we're good. Got the timestamp in there.
Very
The
cool.
only other thing I really want to do is when we run this code here, contacts, I don't know why, who is here? I don't know why, must be the long guys. You see, that's a map, right? And so what's happening is every time we run this, we're doing this, but what we need to do is a sort. God, I never remember how to do this sort. So there's a sort that we can do, and I never remember how to do a sort.
You want to sort the contacts by name or by...
Well, that's the thing, right? So we have to add some methods to app.user to do this sort properly. Now, I might have sort slice given a, let's just steal this. That might be exactly what we need. So sort slice users. If I don't want to do it on ID, I want to do it by name.
Yep.
Right.
And name is already string.
I don't know if I can just do that way, can I? Oh.
Maybe.
Maybe. See, that's not bad, right? That gives me back the context. So if I do this, yeah, JK. So now, now it's properly sort of sorted, right? We could leave information about the last user. You were like, you could go crazy with a UI.
Yeah, you could go forever.
Yeah. You can, okay, but at least that gives us the sort of sorting that we wanted there. Okay, and it doesn't have to be sorted here. It just has to be sorted over there. So we're going to push that one up to, let's see here. So we've got that. I don't have the clear history, but we did also fix the sorting. So sorted contacts. Okay. So that gives us a good place now for you to be on Thursday with Delaney to sort of build the next gen UI. All right.
Got it.
He's going to have under front ends, right? You're going to create another folder under
UI.
front ends.
Yep.
Whatever you want to call it. And
but it'll be under front ends UI.
Nope.
It would just be instead. It would be client and then
Front ends.
data star client, whatever we call it.
Data star.
Okay.
Right. It's a brand new front end.
Got it.
So you're going to create a data star folder there. If data star is in Go, then there are things here that you could leverage. Like you want to leverage the storage. So let's set up for this for a second, right? Because ideally then, if we're talking about a front end here, we want to reuse storage and UI, right? It's not the UI. It's the UI that has to change.
Yes.
The app stays the same. The storage stays the same.
Yeah, that's what I.
It's the UI that has to change. So
so it'll be another directory under UI.
So let's organize this a little bit better right before we sort of finish here then, right?
Yeah.
Because I almost want a layer here called, what do we want to call them? UI, basically, like which UI we're going to use.
Yeah.
All right. So then what if I called this? Oh, we already have it. We already did it. You just need another folder under here called data star.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, dude. You need another folder here called data star that takes care of these things.
Yeah, and data star is going to probably it's going to have to do the calls. It's going to have to do a set, I'm assuming. Or is that just...
It has to because of the chicken and the egg problem.
A set, a run.
Yeah.
So it's essentially going to be copying what the calls to
basically,
UI is making.
On line 37 here, you'll replace it with data star.
Yeah.
.new.
In the main.go. Okay.
Nothing else should have to change. So if we did everything right, we should be able to just add a new UI here, and you'd be done.
Got it.
Okay. If you can write it in Go. If you can't, then you'd have a new folder because it's a JavaScript thing, and then you'd have some other stuff going on. Mm. But data star is in Go, so should be able to just replace TUI with data star.
Got it. Okay.
And that should be done. Yeah. Okay, so you're doing this Thursday. My world gets really complicated moving forward here. So I'm in Vegas Thursday, Friday, and then I got to do training the next week. So our class is going to move from 11 a.m. to like 2:30.
Okay.
The next week, and we'll start we can start this work next week. So we'll bring in the Olama server. We'll bring in you can run everything local again, and we'll create some ability to do chatting with the LLM. Now, eventually we could even feed it some personality context, but
okay,
it would still be sort of fun to be able to chat with.
Just see how that works.
Yeah, with the history and everything like that going in. So I think we could do that in a couple of days. By the end of next week, have that. I keep avoiding this because it's going to be a lot of work. Right? I mean, when you just look in main, the very first thing we're sort of doing is, or at the app layer, let's see here, business. Now we got a business layer.
Yeah.
This right here.
Create the stream.
So now you're not creating a stream up front. You're creating a stream at a user level. That's a little bit of work there, bro, to get that right and not break. And you see, deliver new has to change now too when you come up if we want to get all the other stuff. This is complicated.
Yeah.
So we have to so what's happening to my brain is we could do it. I no doubt we can build it. The question is, do we want to build it? Is this the best use of our time? Have we proven already how to build a chat server with sort of all these concerns already, right? So I want to do this. And then what I want to do is evaluate, is there something new we want to build, right? Like if I go back to, I don't know if I have this on my local machine here. Hold on. This is here. Hold on. Documents. I had that image that we started with, remember?
Yeah.
I know finding it is a nightmare, but projects.
Right
This one.
there.
All right. So here's going to be the question after we're done with the AI stuff. All right. Do we want to continue to build out this chat system to the next level? The private streams, group chats, data file transfers. We can. Okay. This is the service class. I've done this before. Not really excited. File sharing can be done in here.
Okay.
Okay. Like nothing else. I already have the blockchain implementation. So like nothing else excites me on this list, if I'm being honest with you. Like the Go team's done this already. Credit card validator, who cares? Image processing. So anything else I want to do on this list can be done in this project. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It would just have to be done. Yeah. To do file sharing, we need this. So I don't see any way around just kind of not doing this right now. But the AI agent stuff is going to be interesting and see how we enhance that. So we'll play with it a little bit on the fly. But I think this is all saved, right? Okay.
Yes.
So I think, even though I felt like today was a bit of a waste, at the same time we learned some stuff and we cleaned up some code and we got the business layer in and we did all that. Yeah. We had some good conversations. So you're going to do Data Star with Delaney on Thursday. You're probably going to need Tuesday, which honestly, if you do, that's fine with me too.
Okay.
And then when you're done with Delaney, we're going to come back and add a agent mode to that. And then when we're done with that, we'll come back and really focus on the streams. Right. Well, once you got that working, now it gets
now we can do some
serious,
interesting stuff.
Really, really, really serious. All right, so we're good for the day. I hope everybody enjoyed the session. We're going to shut this thing down, and we'll see everybody again later in the week.